I thought I could be happy being complacent.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of people think that.
Yeah.
They think like, oh, well, I'm just going to hit this plateau and be complacent. Like, I'm set, I'm good, I'm going to be happy. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. Like, I think that the happiness and the joy comes from the striving and the becoming.
I know for you, the people that are going to be able to see this, they know a lot of like the business side of you. And I'm sure to some extent, there's some personal things they probably know about you as well. But I'm a big time believer in, we tend to become like the products of our environment, and and environment meaning where you grew up, like your experiences in life. I guess, we should start with some of those things with you and where you grew up and just some of the experiences in life that you've come across that have helped shape you to who you are now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you want to start with that?
Oh, no. It was funny. I was in a conference last year in Los Angeles, and one of the speakers is Brendan Burchard. Brendan Burchard is I think he's considered like the top high performance coach in the world. And so as he's talking, and he was saying like, from small town, Montana, in Butte, something silly. I was like, whoop, whoop. And he's like, oh, you know the place? I was like, yeah, I was born there. He goes, what? So he runs off the stage, and then he does like the next 10 minutes, like standing there, together. And it was just kind of a funny thing. So I was like, oh yeah. And then, the fact that I was born in Butte was like the thing that was endearing to my wife's family, because her grandpa was the basketball coach for Butte Central and different stuff. And so when I was dating my wife and said, well, where are you from? I was like, well, I'm born in Butte. He goes, oh, I'm like, okay, you're going to be all right. So yeah, Butte, America, home of Evel Knievel. But I moved when I was 6. I remember growing up though, because my dad was a military kid. So he, was born in Texas, kind of like, he was born, but it was like 2 weeks, lived in Texas, then moved all over the place. And by the time he got married and stuff, he really didn't like people. Like, he just kind of wanted to like be away from everybody. So we lived in the mountains south of Butte. And it was like a 20-minute, felt like an eternity as a kid, drive to get into town every day. So I remember growing up there, and like the woods was my backyard. So I climbed trees, I climbed rocks. I had a pet bear. It's a funny story for some time, but the pet bear, because there was bear kept digging our trash, and so the fish wildlife put a trap out, captured it, and I was outside at the time, and I saw the trap was open, and then I went to the back of the house and came back front. I'm like 4. Yeah, I remember it still. And the trap had closed, and so I would go inside. I'm like, hey mom, I caught my bear, and she's like, what? It's like, yeah, got it. And she's like, probably the neighbor's dogs again, because we caught the neighbor's dogs a few times. So we go up there together, and we look in, this little like grate cage thing. And sure enough, there's a big black bear like staring right back at us. Freaks out, calls him. And I was just like, this is so cool, because my hero was Davy Crockett, and I had a coonskin cap that I wore everywhere. And like I was, and so when Fish Wildlife came and took my bear, like it was heartbreaking. Like, I was like, I'm crying. I'm taking my bear. Sorry, but I moved when I was 6.
It's my pet.
It's my pet. Yeah, I was like, I caught this bear fair and square, people, like mine. So yeah, I lived in the woods, and it was fun. It was really, really fun as a kid. And then I moved to Colstrip, which is the middle of nowhere, eastern Montana. Not quite as far east as your wife's family, but
you're right.
About eastern Montana, middle of nowhere, and a little coal mining town. And it was fun. Like, I really think about growing up, and it was a really fun experience, because like I just biked everywhere as a kid. Like, I remember like 10, 11, 12 years old. My first job was one of my friends. His dad was the manager of the Pizza Hut Taco Bell combination. And he said, hey, here's some door hangers. I want you to like paper the city. So that was our summer job. He paid us like $75 each. And we literally like rode our bikes for days all over this town.
Wow.
And put door hangers up everywhere. And I think back now, and, like no cell phones, no, none of that. Right. And I'd go out like cross country skiing, and I'd be gone for hours at a time. Or I'd go out ice fishing and be gone for like all day. Right. And my parents really didn't know where I was like at all. And it's so, honestly, it's so like foreign to me now where I can't imagine like, sending Peyton, my 12-year-old. I can't just imagine like, they're like, all right, well, have a good day. Go explore, play in the woods, play in the lake. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I think
wild.
it's in these days though, man.
Is it?
God, dude, I've been getting a bunch of like Instagram stuff where it's like, if you're 40, you will remember this. And like stuff like that. Like,
Right.
we wouldn't, the cell phones weren't a thing. You would just
No.
face-to-face stuff.
Yeah.
Come over.
Yeah. And just be gone all day. Like introduced, we're a little biker gang, you're right. All on our mountain bikes or whatever. And just, it was, so it was fun. I loved it.
Mhm.
We moved from that little town when I was 7th grade. So middle of 7th grade year, we moved to Helena. It was the capital, is where we are now. We moved to Helena because my dad was an engineer by trade. God got a hold of him at some point when I was really little. And then he felt like this call to go be a pastor. And so moved to Helena to come be a pastor. And I was super bitter about that whole thing. Because it's almost like I had 2 lives growing up. Like one was like, living in Colstrip and had friends and all this stuff. And then I moved to Helena. And my parents were pretty involved. I mean, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. I was homeschooled. And then we moved to Helena and started going to a Christian school. And it was very much about ministry. My parents like doing ministry.
You said that your parents were involved, and you mentioned your mom.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned when you first started out that your dad was kind of a grumpy guy and he wanted to move out. And like how?
Well, that was.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was its own transformation, because I don't remember that. Like that was his rationale for living south of Butte before he had kids. Like didn't want to be around anybody, and then he became a Christian. Gosh, I can't remember. It was like either right before I was born or like right after I was born. So I really don't remember my dad not being Christian.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And so and he he's got his own story about being an alcoholic and being delivered from that. And so I don't remember that. But that's why we lived in Butte. And we lived out of town. It was because my dad was before he was a Christian, he just didn't love being around people. Just kind of wanted to do his thing and whatever. But then obviously his perspective changed, and was like, okay, life is about people, and it's about serving, and it's about helping people. And so, so
that's how I remember your dad. So.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I moved to Colstrip, then we moved to Helena. My dad, starts, pastoring this church, and, go to Christian school, played sports. I played basketball and soccer. And I played in a punk rock band, which I tell people like, and you go to like icebreakers and things like that, and people say, what's one thing that most people don't know about you, in this room? And so the thing I always tell people, I said, I was at one point, I was actually part of an internationally award-winning punk rock band, which is true because I played in this punk rock band, and we played at a Battle of the Bands in Saskatchewan.
International.
And we won it.
Heck yeah.
We won a boombox. So me and my friend Kevin, all the guys in the band, we actually took the box. We're like, we're trying to get a trophy. This is crap. So we took the box, duct taped it, and spray painted it gold. There's pictures of us somewhere. I don't know if Kevin still has those pictures somewhere, but it was like, sweet, well, we got this trophy. It ourselves, but it was kind of interesting because I didn't. I was good at school. Being homeschooled, my mom had really high standards for me, which I look back now and I'm super grateful. And it was kind of funny when I was homeschooled as a kid, and then I moved to Helena, and I would hear people that would say, hey, I had a bad rap with homeschooling or, whatever. And I didn't get it. Everybody's homeschooled like I was homeschooled. You'd be fine. But then I also had friends that were, freshmen in high school, and they were basically illiterate. Like they weren't homeschooled, they were no schooled. And right. And so that's like, okay, I understand why there's some bad rap and rapport. And so I get that. That was not, or my cousins, which is, all the people that I grew up with that were homeschooled, like it was not the case. But anyway, so school actually came pretty natural to me. It was, I got pretty bored pretty quick. And so I had this idea, and as a junior, I was like, I'm just going to take both, junior and senior together and be done, take all my credits. And then, so I did that and had the credits to graduate. And they said, basically, no, you can't And I was kind of bored. And so my parents actually gave me the option. My dad did. He said, if you want to be done, he said, just take your GED and then go to this ministry program called Master's Commission. It was at the Assemblies of God Church. And I knew the guy that ran it. And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. So, I did that, took the GED, got done, and went to this program at 17. And so
you got done quick.
Got done quick. Yeah.
Before you were legal.
Yeah. It was so fun. Yeah. I mean, it's just lots of funny stories. Like I remember taking the GED. I'm doing like trigonometry and calculus in high school, right? And then I go to take the GED and I couldn't remember how to add fractions. Like I couldn't remember like basic math. I'm like, oh no. And so I took every fraction, converted it to a decimal, did the math, and then converted it back to a fraction just because I could not remember how to do it. Anyway, stupid.
Did you get it right though?
Yeah, I got it right.
I mean, hey,
yeah.
Sometimes it works.
You worked fine. Yeah.
I'm not shocked that
yeah.
that's what you did.
Yeah.
Like,
no. Yeah. I am a numbers guy. So, yeah. Yeah. It is, yeah. So I went to this ministry training program, which was really, it was really fun. I mean, I talk about growing up, right, in this really short time, because it wasn't, like going to college. I think there was 9 students that were part of the program. And then there was a couple of like second or third year leaders. And so basically there's like a group of like 12 or 13 of us was that first year. Did some cool travel. The whole Guatemala experience will take way more time than we have today, but really like had to have some foundational things because growing up in the church and Christianity, like I was pretty bitter at my parents all through high school.
Yeah.
And, but being the middle child, I could kind of be invisible, and I could just kind of like hang out in the background. And I loved sports so much though, that I didn't really drink. I didn't do drugs. Like I didn't get into partying because I had plenty of friends that did that. I was like, hey, you're dumb. Like I really like playing sports and I do not want to screw that up. Like that was really my saving grace. But in that bitterness, it was also like, okay, yeah, I grew up as a Christian in the church. And so I kind of like had this chip on my shoulder, like, yeah, I kind of know everything. And also being a pastor's kid, whether people mean to or not, and people don't, I think, mean to, but they hold pastors' kids at a higher standard than they do pretty much anybody else, sure. Other kids for sure. And so just kind of this like weird weight. And so I got really good at being duplicitous. I got really good at here's who you want me to be. So therefore I'm going to show you what you want to see.
Like a mask?
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Sure.
And I had a mask for basically, I could be a chameleon and I could be whoever you want me to be in really any scenario, which I think now it's kind of a superpower because I can make friends with a lot of people in a lot of different ways, right? Like I can talk to executives that own, multi-million-dollar companies. And I can also, talk to this kid that is, he's about to get evicted because he's got a drug problem. Like I got no problem talking to people from all swaths of life. But anyway, during this ministry training program, it really kind of was confronted with like, okay, am I going to follow Jesus for me? Or is it just because of what my parents wanted to do? I have to remind myself of that still to this day. It's like, no, this is about me and relationship rather than just religion and other things.
Right.
Don't know why I went down that rabbit hole, but
no. Well, you were saying too, like you're like you brought that up a couple times, like you're feeling bitter about it.
Yeah.
And it seems like you're bitter about it because there's a standard that you're held to,
right?
That you're like, I mean, like with a job like that with your dad, might being a pastor, I think what comes with that is there's like this moral high standard that now not only your dad is held to, but the family is held to.
Yeah. And my brother had a tough time growing up, mostly because of his decisions. He was, because we kind of go to that tangent real quick. So he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in like August of 2017, and then he died of an overdose like 2 months later. And, just self-medication and different stuff, and not knowing really anything about mental health. Not really, I was kind of going through my own stuff, and obviously addiction and like coming through different things, but not really understanding like the depths of mental health, things like that, and And then once, when my brother was diagnosed, and then I started just reading everything good about bipolar disorder. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's just like, oh, this makes so much sense. Like looking backwards over his life and being like, oh, well, that's why okay, that all makes sense. Cause I mean, growing up, there was so many times he would like steal my driver's license, steal my truck, get drunk, run to the ditch. And the East Helena Police Department had a hard time understanding like who I was compared to my brother, because we looked very similar.
Sure.
And things like that. And if I tell people, like, if you ever saw the movie Catch Me If You Can, like that was my brother.
Oh,
like
wow.
so smooth, and just the ability for him to sweet talk his way in or out of anything was just unbelievable.
Wow.
Amazing musician, talented guy. I think the hardest part, like when with him passing away, in 2017, was that there's several years that he lived in Spokane that honestly I didn't know if he was in prison or dead. Because I'm just like, I don't know, I haven't heard from him for like years. Like, I have no idea. And I tried to look him up when I was in town or passing through or whatever. I'd see him every now and then, but he had actually come to the point where, for whatever reason, like he realized that whatever path he was on was not a good one. And so he actually moved back in with my parents to try to like figure this thing out. He had a job, he was doing well, but same thing, right? Whatever those demons were, if you will, and he still had drugs, alcohol, like he still had some stuff that I don't think he was really dealing with. And he was really good at hiding it too. I think he also learned a lot of, good duplicity. To the point that when he passed away from an overdose, it wasn't that he hadn't been doing drugs. And it was right when I didn't know anything about fentanyl, and now it's, fortunately it's a lot more well known. There was a bad batch of stuff that came through, and I can't remember if it was like 7 or 9 people died in Helena in like a week from this batch that came through. So it wasn't like unique to him.
Yeah.
And, I think going back to that, like, after I got phone with my dad, you were the first person I called, and I was just like, well, I'm like calling him, like, I don't think raising going to do anything. Like, there's nothing you can do, but it's just like, I just needed, I just needed a friend to know. And then went and told my wife different stuff. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but it was,
dude.
The real big thing for me was like, I have to figure this out for myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I went into the master's commission and college days, and did some travel, like did some international travel, and really just started getting a love for like exploring, venturing, doing stuff.
Back in the Butte days.
Yeah. Getting out of wood. Yeah. But going and seeing new cultures,
Yeah, man.
like in between that year, I actually part of this music group, and we traveled through Mexico, and we were playing at like prisons and orphanages and stuff like that. Some really cool experiences and stories, and fell in love with the Mexican culture. And and then after that, then we did a trip with the Master's Commission group to Guatemala, and we backpacked into the backcountry where people still live in mud huts and they don't speak Spanish. It's another like dialect. And so it was fun because you translate from English to Spanish, and the Spanish to, I think it was Quechua was the name of the language, if I remember correctly. But it was fun, and we were like working with the church. And then me and 2 guys said we decided we wanted to like go up and share the gospel with other people on this other mountain top. And everybody told us, no, don't go there because the people are going to kill you. And so we're like, okay. But it was, when you're young and dumb and zealous, I was like, sweet, I'm going to die a martyr. Your brain isn't fully functioning, when you're 17. I think I had turned 18 by that point. Yeah, I was right after I turned 18. Yeah, but it was kind of sobering because I actually like wrote a letter to my family, like if I'm dead, and it was like this really weird, surreal feeling. It was kind of strange. Because I've never been in the military, but I would imagine that guys that go into combat, like probably a similar feeling, like this surreal, like, okay, I'm probably going to die now.
Yeah,
and you just are okay with it and go with it.
Well, describe that for me. Like when you're, I bet that was like an intense, like sit down and concentrate on like what I'm going to write to my parents if I'm dead.
Yeah. And it was and also going back to the idea of bitterness and things like that of high school. I'm not that far out of high school now, right?
Yeah.
6 months, 9 months. And realizing like, oh, okay, like I really am grateful for my parents. Like I'm really grateful for the sacrifices that they made, the things that they've done, the way that they raised me. How to treat people, like all the things, right? My parents are amazing, right? My parents. But not having that perspective in high school, it's easy to be the victim, right?
Sure.
So having that very like sobering experience. And then,
Way to say it. Sobering.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we ended up doing the hike. We go over the top. Long story short, my friend Andrew falls off a cliff. I think he ends up breaking his neck because then the guy in front of me like ran down again because he started screaming like a little kid. Runs down, grabs his neck, and he's like, "In Jesus' name, live!" And like Andrew's eyes pop open. And Jason, like, where are we? What's going on? He had massive concussion. He had broken both of the wrists. I think he broke one wrist, and anyway, it was bad. And we're in the middle of the jungle. It's nighttime, and it's starting to rain. Right? It was bad. And this is like, pre-cell phones, that were really helpful. Hiking out, and we get to the top, and he's bad concussion. He's like throwing up all night, and and I'm doing the best medic. I am as an 18-year-old kid, just like checking his pupils and like waking him up all the time, making sure he's not falling asleep, and like, and so it was a whole like crazy experience. Things like that, kind of the same way. Okay, and I 18, and all of a sudden it was like, okay, like life, it just changed my perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
instead of being very selfish and about me, it was like, okay, life is bigger than that. Like, life is bigger than me. And it's interesting because I have, those friends I still talk to this day. They're still like really, really close there. Yeah, and Andrew's still alive. He's doing great. He's got kids, and he lives in Dubai. And he just started a cool company, which I'm excited to hear as that thing grows. So I'm really excited for Andrew.
Nice. Does it have to come to that, you think? Does it have to come to like those come to Jesus moments like that? Like where,
think of, I don't know. I mean, it was funny when we were driving over here, me and my wife were kind of talking about those things, and, kind of the question we were talking about, like, what's the hardest thing you've done or the hardest thing you've experienced? The hardest thing you've done is the hardest thing you've done. And so what is that perspective that you have from the difficult thing that either you went through that wasn't your fault, or the thing that you're like, okay, I'm purposefully going to like have some intention to do this thing that I know is going to be hard. But I think that there's a level of connection with people that have gone through the fire. You know what I mean? That like, even with my brother, like, I was just back in Helen a few weeks ago for a friend, who lost his son. He was little. The only thing, like, after I lost my brother, because my brother passed away, 3 months before that, my father-in-law passed away. My grandpa passed away 2 weeks after that. We like lost a ton of family members in like this, 6-9 month time frame. And, but after my brother died, like, after it was all said and done, whole funeral stuff, and he's about to go to cremation. Like, I asked the funeral people if I could, I don't think I've told anybody this, but I asked the funeral, people if I could just like go see him one more time. And so I go in there, he's got this cool tattoo. And, anyway, it was just kind of like this moment of like, crying, and cause I was being strong for my parents. I was being strong and quarterbacking a lot of just the logistics and stuff like that just to get through it.
I remember.
And so then when it finally like all like came down, and I was able to just be like, what the hell is all this about? Like, what is this? Having this sense of peace where, kind of like your story where you were just talking about like UFOs, and then this sense of peace, right? And it talks about in the Bible, like this peace that surpasses understanding, and just this weird, like, knowing, and there's no other way I can describe it except for like just this knowing. It's like, okay, God, I don't get it. I don't understand it, but I know that you're good. And I don't even think that this is like, this has a purpose necessarily, if that makes sense. But I know that you're good. And that knowledge, like, that can't be taken from me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so even you go through whatever. So back to me and my wife as we're traveling over here and having this funny conversation about, do you have to go through that hard thing in order to become who you need to become? Or, those people that you're like, man, I really connect with this person because they've been through the fire too. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I kind of think so. I think that you kind of have to, because it gives you a different perspective where this bad thing that's happening, there was a time there where me and my wife would joke with each other, like, okay, well, nobody died. That's a very morbid thing to us, like, about, but if that's the level, and it's like, okay, there's this thing that's happening, like, this might seem like it's a catastrophe right now, but in light of the bigger picture, this is solvable. Like, this is overcomeable. This is figure outable. Whatever descriptor you want to use, we can get through this.
Yeah, I remember you telling me, like, in the midst of those that hard time that you were kind of going through.
Yeah.
It was a rough season, man. I remember
That was a brutal season.
Yeah. And like, but also at the same time, I have to commend you that you were also, I mean, you kept it together. Like you were, you were still, like you still had a good sound mind. Like, you know what I mean? Like you still had a purposeness about you, what you were doing. And now that you're explaining it, I mean, you're like actually trying to hold everything together, like in your family. And so I remember you telling me, I think we probably were coming out of a coffee shop. We just had this conversation, a hard conversation about a lot of things. And then you said something like in there's clarity in chaos. I don't know if you remember telling me that.
No.
Yeah. And
Teach me.
Yeah, no, but that's what you said. And like now that you're telling me this story, right? And you're telling me about like what you own, right? And there's a sense of peace. That kind of how I'm taking what you meant when you said that.
Yeah.
Right. So, but like in the midst of this chaos, there's clarity in it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, obviously you were anchored down.
Yeah.
Which is obviously a huge piece of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I remember you telling me that in the parking lot.
Which coffee shop? Were we in Calgary?
Scenic Brew.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice.
One of our long conversations that we usually have whenever you come into town. And
yeah.
But I knew that one was going to be tough because of what was going on.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's kind of funny because there's that whole, there's like a season there, after, father-in-law died, and then my brother. Yeah. So in order of events, I wasn't doing well in my marriage. I wasn't doing well financially. Like I got to like $300 to my name and 0 assets, minus a couple cars that were broken. And then, father-in-law passed away. And then my brother got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. My brother passed away and my grandpa passed away. Mm-hmm. And in between those two things, I had a business deal that I was working on with the country of New Zealand that it was 2 years. It was 2 years in the making. And I just was like, man, we were struggling hard. I could struggle hard in business.
Yeah.
And I was like, really, like if we would have landed that deal with the country of New Zealand, it would have like broken free enough capital to really take it to the next level, right? To really have the company do stuff. And we were like 2 weeks before we inked the deal. I was supposed to fly to Wellington, New Zealand, which is the capital. I was supposed to fly to Wellington to ink the deal. The Minister of Defense basically like unilaterally was like, no, the deal's dead. And it's just been like, what the heck is going on? Like I am,
Yeah.
Oh, so when you're like, yeah, remember this in the coffee shop? I'm like, I don't remember a lot of things from that season because it was just hell.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, I'm going to wake up today. I'm going to do the best thing that I know to do. Right. Even if it doesn't feel like it moves the ball forward very much, but it's something. And maybe it's that, maybe that's the, like, I don't know, like we're talking about, like, maybe that's the, like, I decided not to lay down and die. I guess that was my other option. There's always that option. Lay down and just give up and be passive and not go through it. Or you can be like, no, I'm going to go through the hard thing.
Yeah.
So
I have a hard time actually, since I've shared a little bit, some of this experience with you, right?
Yeah.
Like when we talk about like that chaos that's going on and there's some clarity, sometimes the clarity comes after, right? When it's all said and done, we don't know what's, you know what I mean? Like when we're in the midst of it, it's tough. But then afterwards, I kind of want to bring it back to when we were talking about like I'm a recovering procrastinator, right? Yeah. And so, so when somebody comes to me saying like, I don't got time to do this, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Then I'm like, nah, you do. Nah, yeah, you do. Don't give me that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the clarity moving forward. It kind of gives us a little bit of an authority of like, oh no. I know what I'm talking about. I've been there.
Yeah.
I literally been there.
Yeah.
Right. So, I think that, that was man. Yeah. I just remember that for you, man. It was a tough time for you. And you've learned a lot from it. And
dude, like Anchors was, one of the anchor points from that whole season, it was April 2016. And we had already gotten tickets to go to Calgary. We were going to a business conference. And a lot of chaos was happening in my life. We're flying to Calgary. Or no, I flew to Montana. Came to Montana. No, I probably have money to fly. I think I drove to Montana. We drove up to Calgary. So I drove to Montana, and I get to Montana, and my wife called me. She's like, by the way, Peyton, who's 3, just broke his leg. And, it was kind of the same decision. Like, okay, do I go home? Do I drive back to Seattle? Or do I just go to Calgary? Anyway, right. And so made the decision, like, we're going to go to Calgary anyway. And so, so going up there, the trip, I think I was pretty numb, honestly, like on the trip going up. And then while we're at the conference and stuff like that, it was kind of like, I was there, right? It wasn't until Sunday morning. There was a church thing that happened. And then, it was during that it was, this whole, like you go to church and stuff and they have like different videos and things. And the video, I don't even remember the whole video, but it was all this stuff. And then basically the end of it was like, it was basically like, it's time to dream again. And I just like broke, right? I just started sobbing, And then we left and I think we got lunch or something, right? We go back to the hotel room and I didn't remember like the conversation, but it was just kind of like a knowing, right? There was just like such a deep connection that I don't know if you've experienced it that often, but I haven't experienced it that often where it's like, there's such a deep, like, I don't know, a spiritual soul, like whatever that connection is, where it's just like, you know what I mean? Like we're just here. Yeah. We got each other, right?
Yes.
And so then on the drive back, then I'm just like pouring my soul out right to you. Yeah. And because of, I think the being bitter, being able to be a chameleon, wearing every mask that I could. And I got really good. I got good at it and I got comfortable with it. Right. So that I could be anybody to any, right. I could be any person, anybody. And that's not healthy.
It's exhausting, man.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of just being able to just be like, okay, I can be authentic and genuine and just who I am. And honestly, it's still hard for me to this day because I go in a room and I can analyze the room and I can just be like, okay, you're fighting. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can just kind of like feel what's going on. And then from that determination, I'm like, okay, how am I showing up? Instead of this is what I'm learning right now. I'm still suck at it, but like, okay, before I go in there and I don't know who's going to be in there, how am I going to show up? Mm-hmm. Right? Am I going to show up and be intentional? Am I going to show up and be genuine? Am I going to show up and just be me? And if people don't like me, screw them, like, like, yeah, but it's their problem, not mine. Because that was hard, man. That was really hard.
Yeah.
To learn. So I don't know, man. Thank you because that was like an anchor point that after that, it was like, okay, we like at least have Ray, like at least I got somebody,
yeah,
that I know has got my back and can't do it for me. I got to go through this fire myself, but at least it's somebody that can reach out to me like, bro.
Yeah, yeah, man. So, no, like I said, some of that was, like I said, you did it so well. Like, right. Like you just explained it to me. You were comfortable and you did it good. Right. And,
I didn't feel it.
And like, I'm telling you, but that Sunday, dude, we were both in that hotel room crying, bro.
Yeah.
Like it was, and it was just like, it was like uncontrollable. To me, my experience at that time it was like this uncontrollable, like urge to frickin' just like step into what God is like calling me to do.
Right.
And stop being such a wuss about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's those small experiences that you can always go back to and say, like in the midst of chaos, you can always step back and look at that point and go, I remember. Yeah. I'm supposed to do this. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I can be purposeful with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm also curious too, like, I was, when you left, like there was kind of for me at least, there's almost like this like gap that was like left too, right? Because you and I at that time, like we were also like, right, we had that like 5-year clip when we were growing, we were doing like a business together. Right. Yeah. And We were intentional about growth. We were communicating often. And then all of a sudden, and then we were associated with a group that was also like in the mindset. We were around people that were wanting to grow and move on. And then all of a sudden it was like taken away. Like, right.
Yeah.
It was literally, it almost felt like when football was done, then like it got snatched away. Right. But I also remember too, like your growth through that process. Cause then you had to move out. You lived in Seattle. Like that's a whole new place for you. So like, go through that a little bit, man. How did
your culture shock of going from the Philippines to San Diego, little Montana kid, 2,500 people in Colstrip on a good day. I mean, Helena's not that big. Not what, 30,000? I mean, maybe 50,000 in the greater area.
But when you're in neighborhoods, though, it feels small.
Oh yeah,
like especially East Helena. East Helena is like their own thing.
East Helena's really small. Yeah, and that's when I was a kid. And our first 2 houses were in East Helena. But yeah, I mean, going from that to then like Seattle, like I was so scared of cities and people. And I tell people this all the time that when I was a little kid, my parents thought I was going to be a hermit because I was so scared of people. Like the little ladies at church would say hi. I would go run and cry and find my mom. The joke I make is like, and I was 16. I was a little guy. But really, truly, like it was, I didn't know how to interact with people. Like I could get up and I could, probably the mask thing. I could get up and like, perform in a rock concert. I could get up and speak in front of people. But actually like sit down and have a conversation and be vulnerable. Hell no. Like, no.
Yeah.
Let alone like meeting new people. And so then I'm dropped in, a city of 4 million of my closest friends in a similar way, like the ethnic culture shock. I grew up next to the Northern Cheyenne Reservation and the Crow Reservation. I had a lot of friends that were Native American. But that was it. And then, it was really bad because the place we were at in, kind of the greater Seattle area, there's a lot of people that were Indian, a lot of people that were Mexican. And then I'd see white people. I'm like, nice. And then they'd like speak Russian or Ukrainian. I'm like, dang it. Like, and so it was good. But the thing that I learned in that time, right. I mean, hindsight, like you're saying, like when you're in the middle of the chaos, there's not a whole lot, but now like being out of it and looking back, there's a great book, called The Gap in the Gain. And it's really good, from the perspective of because right, like I talk all the time, like goals, where are you going? Like, what do you want to do? And those types of things. And if you're comparing yourself forward, a lot of times it can get really depressing because you're like, okay, I want to be here. Okay. Well, that's okay. Let's call that utopia. Okay. Unachievable. And if you're here, then it's like, okay, how do I compare? And if you're doing that comparison with other people, right, that's even worse, right? Because it's like, okay, you're pairing, whatever your baseline is to somebody's like pinnacle. Well, that isn't their baseline. Right. That happens to be their pinnacle, right? But the gap in the gain, the idea is that as you make it to the next mountain peak, don't look for the next one up here. Like pause for a second and look backwards. And it reminds me when I was going through the ministry school and there was this river, this tiny little like creek stream. And it was kind of the same. I was leaving that, I was going into something else. And as I'm looking, I kind of see this river and I'm looking at it and I'm looking down the river this way. And you see like all these boulders and rapids and things that are kind of going. And I threw a stick in and just kind of watched it go. And I had this sense of like, oh my gosh, like that's life. Like I don't know where I'm going. Like I don't know what's around that bend. Like that's scary, white water, all this stuff. Right. And got this sense. It's like, yeah, but look how far you've come. And then to turn around the other way, look up the river and realize like, oh, okay. You didn't know what those turns were going to look like either, but kind of the same. Like I got you,
Yeah.
So, I don't know where I was going with it. That was good.
Good. That was good. That was really, culture shock.
Oh yeah. So looking back now, it's a gap in the game. Like you got to look backwards in life and see like, okay, I may not have arrived to where I want to be, but holy cow, look at where I've come, And so, I look back at the time in Seattle and I fly in and out of Seattle all the time. Like it's kind of my other home airport. I know it really well. And every time I fly into Seattle, there's just like, honestly, man, it's like this overwhelming like gratefulness because there's no way that I would have gotten healthy in Helena. I just wouldn't have done it. I know too many people, too many masks, too many things. It'd be easier to be unknown.
Yeah.
right? But moving to Seattle and then realizing like, oh, I am unknown. Like this is good. This can be to my advantage. And then reaching out and getting help when I needed it and walking through all those things. So like I can fly in and out of Seattle and I just have this gratefulness. Like I don't want to live there again, but I'm really grateful for the time that I had there,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, it was a culture shock. But again, like some of the things, like yes, obviously, like getting, you know, like mental health and like emotionally more stable and stuff like that. Financially, it sucked. It was a hard time. Business, I learned a ton of things to do, things not to do. Very naive as this Montana kid, you know, because in Montana, it's a small enough. Like I tell people all the time, like Montana is a big small town. Right?
Yeah.
You start pulling some threads and you probably know other people pretty quick. So, and I guess also growing up in the small town of Colstrip, like I couldn't get away with stuff because the local sheriff knew me. And so did all the other moms and grandmas and dads that were around.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get away with stuff. So, but it was so in that sense, like there's also like this, there is like, you better do what you say you're going to do. Expectation, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then that reputation is going to be a really hard one to overcome. Yeah. If you say you're going to do something, then you don't do it, or you cheat somebody or whatever, right? Like not good. Right. Well, okay. In a city, there's 4 million other people I can screw. So it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
So being like country bumpkin, I'm thinking like, oh, this is how the world works. It's not true. So I got my butt kicked in some good ways. And so now, like in scripture talks about like, you know, be as wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Well, I had the innocent as dove thing down, but I also need to learn to be wise as serpent. Yeah. And so now all the business things and the whole reason that that thing in New Zealand transpired the way it did is because I was super naive. Because what they did is they basically used me and our company to figure out what they wanted to do so they could build their own and completely cut us out from the whole deal. And there's a couple other things that happened in business where I had to like call people to task. And anyway, it made me tougher, right? In that sense, in a good way, right? And then, so that was one, right? Getting better, getting sharper. And then the third one was, it's just a city. Like I didn't have that luxury growing up in Helena. Even like we laugh about it every time we drive through Spokane, Washington. Now we laugh. We're like, we thought this was a city. It's a cute little town. And so, which is actually really nice for me because like now, you know, drop me anywhere in the world. And it's not a big deal. We just flew in and out of London to see my parents. And it's like, okay, it's like, I remember when I first got married and we went to London, I was like overwhelmed, you know, I don't know, this time with 2 kids and my wife, I'm just like, whatever, it's London, you know, whatever. It's just people, you know, just whatever. So I'm really grateful for that time. It was really good. And then the next move after that was, so I was working with my cousins. 2015, they called me up and said, hey, we want you to run this software company. And that was the one that we started the deal with, you know, in New Zealand and stuff like that. It was for firefighters and first responders. Most of our clients were in Australia, a lot in Canada, like Ontario, and then some customers in the United States. And I was like, dude, Kevin, I don't know anything about software. He's like, you're good with people. You'll be fine. You know, okay, here we go. And so again, like learned a lot and, you know, I was really naive. Then all this stuff happens. This is all in Seattle. Like all this stuff happens like during that time in Seattle. And then after my brother died, stuff like that, like I'm tired of the city. Like I'm just tired of living in the city. And it's just, you just vibrate at a different pace living in a city. Yeah. It's just true. Sure. And so we were like, should we move back to Montana? Like, what are we going to do? You know, all this different stuff. So anyway, so my cousins are super generous people. And so they say, hey, why don't you and your family fly out on our dime? We'll fly out to Hawaii. And let's just hang out for a week and then talk business and whatever. So we fly out there and Kevin was like, he's like, we could really use somebody, to help grow, you know, the internet company down in Oregon. Like, why don't you move down to Oregon? And I was like, he's like, if you hate it, you can always move. Good point. So that was in 2018. And holy cow, man. And so that was, you know, I'm talking about like all the timing. That was kind of when we lost touch a little bit, right? It was kind of that time, kind of the same as like, all this like chaos in my life that I was like, okay, I just need to have some separation and just like focus. And it wasn't, but I kind of like cut off a lot of things in Montana because I just was like, man, I got to just like focus on me and what the heck do I want to do? What do I want to become? And it was all those things though, like you talked about, like it's all those things that are underneath, all the challenges, all the like, who do you want to become? Like, what goals do you have? I thought that I thought I could be happy being complacent.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of people think that.
Yeah.
They think like, oh, well, I'm just going to hit this plateau and be complacent. Like, I'm set, I'm good, I'm going to be happy. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. Like, I think that the happiness and the joy comes from the striving and the becoming. And so even when when people talk about, giving stuff to AI or whatever, it's like, no, it's like who you become in the process. Like, yes, I don't need to learn Spanish. There's apps for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's who I become in the process of learning Spanish that actually makes me better.
Right.
Right. And it's that experience and the human relatedness and stuff like that. Those are the things that I care about. I can't really connect with somebody over an app very well.
Yeah.
Like translating. So, but if I can learn a language, like I can sit down, like I can like really get to know somebody through conversation.
And it does something for the experience too, for the other person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. The human connection is lost in the app.
Yeah. Big Doug. Oh yeah, but it was, had our second kid after we moved to Oregon, and it was miraculous, like really, truly, because I didn't think, with everything was in 2016, 2017, 2018, that whole time frame, I was like, man, I don't know what life's going to look like. Just trying to like one more day, like just get through the next day. But kind of guess in the same like visual and also the like deep connection piece. Like I remember driving, I think it was a doctor's appointment or something, driving up the 405 from Renton to Bellevue. I remember the curve, and I'm coming around this curve, and I was listening to some song, and I just got this like this where it's like, okay, your family's going to be strong again. And this is when my family is not strong at all, right? We're kind of in shambles, and you get kind of like, crying and figuring stuff out. And so I go look at Seattle, I'm really grateful. And then I look at, the time in Oregon that has been, can also be really grateful because, like I'm really great. Yeah, my life is magical. Like it really is. And to the point that I don't post on social media because I don't know if people would do it. You know what I mean? And that's not even like a brag or a flex. It's just like, man, it's also special. Yeah. And sacred.
Yeah. Like, there it is. That's
let's not cheapen it.
Yeah.
That's like, I'm going to be with them.
Good word.
So
that's a good word right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not at all where I thought we were going to go today.
I'm good, man.
Holy cow. Yeah.
Oh, I like it. I think, I think some of the things that come up to mind. That's kind of like the cool thing about the relationship, right? Like you and I have, like there's things that we experience that allow us to be authentic with each other. Like like this is how it is. And I think it like leads to whatever avenue that we can go to because we have that, we trust each other with what we're going to say and that we can relate to like when we say things, because we experience, you're saying about like, so there's this like huge thing there's this big thing that's going on, right? This chaos, but there's also like this core thing that's going on that is also has fractures, right? You said that your wife were having a hard time and your kids like if you want to tell me how like you got through that or what specific things that like you were struggling that, that you can maybe give wisdom around and how you pulled out of it together. That'd be good.
Yeah.
And also having kids, right? I remember what you told me too, like sometimes you just got to go through it. Right. I had that and being a parent as well.
Yeah.
I had that experience with my youngest, who always has this like chip on his shoulder about his big brother being bigger than him and stronger than him. And he always he likes to default to that when he's struggling with something. Me as a parent, I always want to try to fix it. And I have like, what did I read that can help my son with this thing? And, at the end of the day, I kind of told him, pulled up to our driveway and I said, son, I can't help you with this. Yeah. You have to do this on your own. I will be there.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling emotional about this because I remember the connect, like my son and I looking at each other, and like, daddy can't help you with this.
Yeah.
You have to mentally pull it together and be strong about this.
Yeah.
And like, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Every step of the way, but you have to get through this hurt.
Yeah.
So I think like
Yeah.
that kind of, sometimes that's what it comes down to when we have to make difficult choices in life, right? Or we come to those forks in the road. Sometimes we don't know until we go do it. And we are resilient, man, and kids are resilient.
Yeah.
And I think the human spirit is resilient.
Yeah.
You just have to like be able to like go through it.
Yeah. Sometimes there's, I mean, I think there's, you're right, kind of the things like, I guess you could lay down and die. Or you just decide to move forward. And the thing is, like, you like watch a movie, for example, and you're like, oh yeah, they just move forward. That's easy for them. It's like, yeah, but real life is like, and they moved forward. And it took 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, because that's reality. Like, it wasn't a overnight turnaround. Far from it. It was very much just like right. And then just like the flooding and the emotional, like going through stuff and because I am, I know we're going to talk a lot about like, therapy and things like that. But when I was going through counseling myself and just like exploring things that I had never done before, and just like, I was a mess, dude. Like I was a mess for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh, big mess. And like just walking through it, thank God for Chris, who's my therapist at the time, and just, walking through with me, and also not taking my bullshit.
Those are good therapists,
dude,
by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, cause right, my background, like being I was a pastor and I was a youth pastor, and my dad was a pastor, and like all this different stuff. And so when I finally got to the kind of the end, like, you get to the end of yourself and you're just like, I need help. Right. And so when I got there and I was like, okay, like who's a therapist? And I didn't I was kind of also like this, like, okay, am I mad at God or like what's going on here? But I was like, okay, maybe I'll find a Christian therapist. So I found this Christian therapist in Bellevue, which is, up the road from us a little bit. So anyway, so I'm talking to him, it must have been like a couple months in, and I'm just like bearing my soul to him, just like pissed off and different things. And I was like, so what? Like, it's going to be like this forever. And he goes, yeah. He's like, or you believe in redemption. He's like, that's the message of Jesus. And I was like, oh, like, it's not just a Sunday school. Jesus loves me, this I know for, you know what I mean? Like, but that, because that's how I grew up, like I didn't understand the impact of what that actually meant, So, and yeah. And then also kind of the same way where it's just like, it's going to suck. It's like, yeah. And it's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
Like in business, one of the hardest, the worst thing, honestly, about like running a company is firing people. Like it's the worst thing in the world. Even though like Trump makes it look like you're fired, right? It's really hard, right? Especially if you've been with people for a long time. And there's this like 24 hours of discomfort that comes into it, right? And it's, if you can get around that, where it's like, hey, this time leading up to this is going to suck for you, the person that has to fire somebody. And it's going to suck for another like 8 hours for that. But if you can just like go through it,
yeah.
And so if I think about back to that time, like there's so many things I should like, our conversation at the coffee shop, I'm like, yeah, I don't remember that. Not because it probably wasn't good. And, I'm sure it was a good time, but it was just, it was like, it's just every day you can do, just kind of hold on and be like, okay, what is the next right thing that I can do?
Right.
And, that's why I love, honestly, like the more that we like talk about this, the concept of the choice, like that in my mind, like that's it. It's like, it doesn't have to be like the big choices, right? It's okay, what is the next right thing to do?
Yeah.
And even if it feels like insignificant, because it probably is, but because it's the next right choice, it's going to put you back on the path.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good, man. That's
yeah.
I think that's good, man.
Sweet.
It was
good place to wrap.